everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Brooke, and today we are going to be doing Taylor Swift merch DIYs. It is safe to say that I own a lot of Taylor Swift merch, especially from the Rep era. I was kind of addicted to buying it for a while, and I have a lot of it. And in the Lover era, there has been a lot of merch released too that has just been awesome. However, some of the problems I found with the Lover era is the merch is super expensive. Not that it's been cheap in the previous eras, but this just seems to be a little more pricey to me. And in addition to that, a lot of this merch takes 4 to 6 weeks, if not more, just production time before it even gets shipped out after you order it, which means that you literally forget you even ordered this merch until it just one day randomly shows up at your house and you're like, oh yeah, I ordered that. And you know what, I'm working off of a bit of a budget right now. However, there are some things from the merch store that of course I wanted to add to my Taylor Swift collection. So I was looking at the items and I thought, a lot of these would actually be really easy to recreate myself. So I thought, what better way than to do a Taylor Swift DIY with you guys today. We are going to be recreating 2 of the shirts from the current Taylor Swift collection of merchandise, and I'm really excited for it. These are the 2 that I honestly would have bought myself, and I already have all the supplies. We are going to be saving so much money, and I planned this out for you guys today so that I'm going to be creating these shirts one way, but along the way I'm going to be adding alternatives so you guys can find the cheapest or best or easiest option for you to create these shirts. Both the shirts are very similar. I did choose 2 of the tie-dye options to recreate today, and you guys are going to see that. So without further ado, let's get right on to what you guys are going to need for the first shirt, which is the Cruel Summer t-shirt.
The first thing you're going to need is a white t-shirt. I got mine from Amazon. It was a pack of 2 for $12, and I decided to choose a size large because I did want the shirt to be oversized. This is some tie-dye I got from the dollar store. I then have an embroidery hoop, embroidery thread, and embroidery needles, or you can actually use transfer sheets instead of the embroidery, which you guys will understand in a minute. So the first step is to start off with the tie-dye. So I tried using elastics to create the shirt just like the Cruel Summer one on the website. However, it didn't entirely work, so I honestly just suggest doing it however you would like to do it, just putting elastics around. I'm then using the purple, pink, and blue tie-dye to actually fully tie-dye the shirt, and you want to saturate this as much as possible. This shirt is super saturated in tie-dye, so you want to make sure the colors are going to be vibrant, bright, and really just cover that entire thing in tie-dye as much as you possibly can. So you want to leave the tie-dye in however long your tie-dye packaging says, and then you want to rinse it out till the water runs clear. You're then just going to put it through the wash cycle, and I just put in some vinegar and salt to help strengthen and hold in the colors so they don't bleed onto my other clothes. So right here actually was supposed to be me talking, however obviously my sound just did not work on the clip, so I'm just going to talk over it. So this is how the final shirt turned out. Honestly, it is not exactly how I wanted it to. I wanted it to be a lot more saturated in the color, but it still looks really good for what it is. From here, I'm just going to show you guys how I actually put the words Cruel Summer right on the shirt. So what I'm doing here is I'm going into Adobe Illustrator, however this will work in Microsoft Word too, whatever you'd like, and I'm just going to be taking the word Cruel Summer however I want it done in the typeface that I would like it on, and the typeface I'm using you guys are seeing on the screen right now. And then on top of that, the shirt has the words Taylor Swift underneath the words Cruel Summer if you do look closely, so I just did that up as well, making sure it is a white outline just like it is on the shirt. From here, we're just going to print out the words Cruel Summer just on a literal regular sheet of white paper, just like I have there in the size that you're going to want it on the shirt. I'm then going to put it underneath the shirt approximately where we want it, and I'm going to pin it to the front of the shirt. I then just held the shirt up to a window and traced over the print underneath with a pencil.
Okay, so this is now what the shirt looks like. I don't know if you guys can see, but there are pencil marks on there. They're just light, but it does say Cruel Summer exactly how I had it on the paper. So now I'm just going to take the paper out because we really don't need that anymore if we are embroidering. I am going to keep this on the side though, personally, just as a reference as I am embroidering, because I just want to make sure I get all the lines right. But the next task is actually going to be to put the shirt on the embroidery hoop. So this is my embroidery hoop, and then I just have some pink thread and of course the embroidery needles. If you've never embroidered before, I highly recommend looking up a tutorial on YouTube. I'm by no means the best at it at all, so I mean definitely look up the tutorial because I'm not going to be the best teacher, but I'll kind of show you guys how I'm going to do it. I only know one type of stitch, that's pretty much how it's going to go. I am just going to do one word at a time. So right now I'm focusing on the word cruel. I just put the first half of the hoop underneath, and then I have this half with the little spoolie thing or whatever on the top, and I just want to make it pretty much as tight as I possibly can, and then screw the thing so it stays as tight as it possibly can. And honestly, I recommend doing embroidery because it looks a lot nicer finish than the transfer paper sheets do. However, do whatever makes you the most comfortable. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like working with the needles and that, which is totally fine. This is obviously the more time-consuming method, but whenever I embroider something, it looks so much better in the end than the heat transfer sheets do. Then I'm pulling it through, so it is about half and half. And then I'm just going to knot it at the end. I also find if you leave too much extra after the knot at the end, it gets kind of all tangled. So I'm just going to cut it as close to the knot as possible. And then I'm just going to start going in with my embroidery. So the way I do it, once again, I'm not a professional. My grandma taught me like a really long time ago, so don't judge my embroidery technique. But I'm just going in. So what I'm going to do is go in wherever I need to at like the very start of the word. Pull it all the way through till the knot catches. And then I'm going to go back through a little bit after that. And then what I'm going to do is when the needle comes back up, I'm going to put it in the middle of that stitch we just did. So it's coming up directly through the center of the thread. And I'm literally just going to keep going exactly like that until I make it all the way around. I want the letters to be fairly thick, so I think I might go through it twice. But I mean, that is generally the whole idea. I know there are other types of embroidery stitches. I don't know them, and I don't know what they are, so this is the one I know. So this is the one that I am going to do around the word. Obviously, this is going to take a little while, and I'm not going to make you guys literally sit here and watch me do the whole thing, but I am going to watch TV while I'm doing this because, let's be honest, why not? And do some embroidery. And this here is the finished embroidery. This took me honestly about 2 hours to do the whole thing. It did take quite a while. I'm not that speedy at it, but we are all done, and now we're going to move on. There's just little words Taylor Swift that go down in the bottom corner here. So that is what we're going to do now. So right now I'm preparing my Cricut, and if you don't have a Cricut, this is where if you want to add this part, you're going to want to use those heat transfer sheets that we talked about earlier. However, for my Cricut, if you do have some sort of cutting machine, I am using heat transfer vinyl. Now, I believe each of these vinyls works a little bit differently, and with each machine it's going to differ. So just use whatever the instructions are for your machine and for your vinyl that you have. But I am just going to be using white vinyl today. Okay, so now that I have officially made a mess with my Cricut, it is now time to iron this onto the shirt. So I have my iron right here all set up. It is warm, and this is the vinyl cutouts that we have from the Cricut right here. It just says Taylor Swift on it, and I'm going to be putting it under the word summer. So thankfully this is a little sticky, so I'm going to put it, actually I'm going to iron the shirt out first. So just making sure that kind of all the creases and wrinkles are on it, not putting too much heat on it because I don't really trust how the embroidery thread is going to take that too well, but just kind of smoothing out the part that I want to put the actual letters on. So now I'm just going to lay this out, making sure it's straight. This is kind of like a one-shot deal, so you really don't want to mess this up. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take some parchment paper and put it over top. This stops the design from burning, which is actually super important, especially if you're working with transfer paper. So it didn't say it needed it. I've only really worked with transfer paper before. I haven't done this vinyl on shorts before, actually. So I'm just putting it there as a precautionary measure. And it said about 15 seconds, but I think we might do just a little bit longer in case. But I have my iron, and I'm just putting it on, and I'm constantly keeping it moving because you don't want it to just like sit there and burn. Okay, and now we're gonna take that off. And we're actually gonna let it cool first. It says you can warm remove it, but I have never had luck with doing stuff like that in the past, so I'm just gonna let it completely cool and then we can take the sheet off. So our next step is just to crop it. So the last part of this one is to crop it. So I've just laid it out here, and you always wanna remember, you can crop it shorter later, but you can't uncrop it. So however long you want it, maybe try it on first, check it out, or just crop it a little bit, see how that looks. You can crop it a little more after. I'm just kind of gonna go for it, and also you want to try to be obviously as straight of a line as possible. Once again though, you can fix it a little bit once you try it on, see how it looks, take it off, try it again. After you crop a shirt, you always gotta kind of pull it just to make sure the threads stay kind of straight or whatever. And yeah, we have just finished our Cruel Summer cropped shirt.
So for the Miss Americana hoodie, obviously you're gonna need a hoodie. I got this one pre-tie-dyed at Walmart, but you can just use a white one too. You could honestly just leave it like this, but I decided to tie-dye it a little more, and then additionally I have the heat transfer sheets. Of course you can use the vinyl ones like I'm using, or just iron-on ones as well. Just like the last DIY, we are on to the tie-dye. I really did not do this in any rhyme, reason, or order. Once again, I just completely saturated the shirt, and today we are using yellow and blue. Just be careful, because one thing I did not fully realize is that yellow and blue makes green.
So this here is what the hoodie came out to look like. Now, obviously, this is a little more green, unfortunately, than the Miss Americana hoodie that is online. The yellow and blue did mix on me. However, I still think it looks pretty cute, and I think this design is going to look really good. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is the exact same as we had in the last file, where in Illustrator I have laid out the exact typefaces. On this one, I actually did find the exact typefaces. The names of them will be on the screen if you did want to check them out. And I positioned them so they are going to look exactly like the Miss Americana hoodie. Now, what I'm going to do here is actually the same process that we just did for the Cruel Summer t-shirt. So I'm going to once again be using my Cricut and the vinyl, and this time we're only using Cricut and vinyl, there's no embroidery, and I'm going to be putting the design right on the front here. However, once again, if you did want to use transfer sheets instead, this design would look really good with transfer sheets. Once again, I just wanted to use the Cricut and the vinyl, but if all you have available to you is transfer sheets, please go ahead and use those. It will still look just as cute. So right here I have the Miss Americana design, and I'm just gonna make sure I center that. Once again, super important to center this, because like if it's not centered, it's gonna look not that great. So you just want to make sure it's centered and it's straight. Those are kind of the big things. I think it looks pretty good right there. Once again, I'm just going to cover it with a bit of parchment paper and then iron it on. And this is the final Miss Americana hoodie.